younger homie, and I said, "Where you been at?" And he kind of looked embarrassed, and he said, "Well, I was locked up." And I said, "Why were you locked up?" He goes, "A joyride." I said, "Let me ask you something. Was there any joy in it?" And he shook his head no, and he said, "It was the opposite of joy." So it made me think about joy and the opposite of joy, which makes me kind of think about, we always talk about when I'm joyful. You know, when good things happen to me, I'm joyful. And when bad things happen, I'm the opposite of joyful. I'm miserable. But I don't think when is really the question. Really, what I think we need to focus on is where is the joy. And the odd thing about that is that joy can be found only in one place. And that's in the present moment. You can't have joy 3 months ago, and you can't have joy 3 weeks from now. It's only right here, right in the present moment. What I would call the living room. You know, that's where the life happens, in the living room. But a lot of times we're not in the living room. That's the only place where you're going to encounter joy. And why aren't we in the living room? Well, we're in the bathroom. You know, we're lamenting what happened 3 months ago or 10 minutes ago. Or we're in the kitchen. We're kind of frantic and fretful about what's going to happen next Thursday. And then we miss the present moment. It has to be right now. Jesus, of course, says, and I just noticed that it's up there somewhere, "My joy, yours, your joy complete." It's the only thing he wants. He's not saying do good and avoid evil. He's just saying, no, all I want to do is give you joy. But it is only available to us in the present moment. And so we want to stay anchored in the present moment. We want to go and kick it in the living room where the joy is available. Years ago, I used to always call the homies and I'd say, "Hey, what are you doing?" And they always would begin by saying, "Just right here." And then they'd tell you what they were doing. "Just right here, reading Winnie the Pooh to my daughter. Just right here, watching Jerry Springer. Just right here, washing my face, still got soap on it." I collected them for a while because I always loved the thing about just right here. It is the only place that joy will happen. It can't happen any other place. So you want to kind of somehow intend the kind of tenderness that will propel you always into the living room. Tenderness with yourself, tenderness with each other. It only happens just right here. My joy, yours, your joy complete. Years ago, I took two brothers who were working here. They were from a neighborhood. They were about 2 years apart from each other, Ricky and Andy. And they started to work here, and just a couple months before they began to work here, their younger brother, who was 12, was gunned down on a Saturday morning. The bullets were intended for the two brothers. And so I said, "You know, let's go on a road trip. Let's go to San Francisco." So they were kind of excited. Well, they were excited until we pulled into Burbank Airport. And they said, "What are we doing here?" I said, "Well, we're going to fly to San Francisco." "Oh, hell no, we're not going to fly." They thought we were going to drive to San Francisco. I'm sorry. So, and of course, I tried to calm them down, you know. So as we were walking onto the tarmac to climb the steps to get onto the Southwest plane, I stop under the wing and I go, "Uh-oh." And they rush over to me, huddling to me. "What? Is it me, or is that a mean-ass crack in the wing?" "Ay, cállate, and cagasho, and you're not right." And so they rush onto the plane. And Southwest, you don't have assigned seating, so the younger kid, the younger homie Andy says, "Shotgun!" And he screams at the top of his lungs so he can get a window seat. And I kind of suggested, "Yeah, you probably, shouldn't yell shotgun on a plane, And so they discover those laminated emergency cards in the pouch in front of them, and they think it's like a menu at Denny's or something. And "Excuse me," they say to the waitress, 2 oxygens when you get a chance, and fortunately the waitress didn't hear them. And so we're sitting there, and the pilot comes on and said, "Good morning, and we'll be flying at an altitude of blah, blah, blah. Thank you for flying Southwest Airlines." I said, "Damn." And they go, "What?" "It's 10 o'clock in the morning, and I think our pilots had a few 40s already, and they go, "Oh, don't say that." So then I see the younger one, Andy, he's looking all over the place, and then he says, I said, "What are you looking for?" And he goes, "I'm looking for the parachute." And I said, well, there is no parachute on the plane. Well, what are we supposed to do if the ship crashes? I said, well, again, very calm. I said, lean forward, and the two of them do it. Can you lean further? And they do it. And I said, is that as far as you can lean forward? And I see their two heads nod. I said, well, okay, if you can reach, kiss your asses goodbye, because that's all you're going to be able to do. It just goes down. Well, they had it with me at that point, too. So then we took off, and they were bien paniqueados. They were hanging onto each other like two viejitas at Magic Mountain on a ride. And then we get above the clouds. And the two of them are just glued to the window. Damn, this is proper. And then I watch the older brother pat the younger one on the chest, and I hear him whisper, I'm glad I'm doing this with you. Don't think for a minute that joy can be located any other place except just right here, in this present moment. Kick it in the living room. Have tenderness propel you there. Tenderness with yourself and with others. Because all God wants to give you is a joyride.